My best and oldest, longest friend, still my friend now, from time we were about 10, we spent the bulk of our time talking about music and girls, except I had no girls, so I had a lot of free time to talk about music.
Hello and welcome to the Vinyl Monologues. I'm your host, Tatjana Clancy, and this episode is very cool. So I have always been imposter syndrome says wannabe, but I have been a music journalist and still try to be. Edited BMA. I wrote for a few different publications and websites. And this guest that I'm going to speak to today is arguably one of the best music journos in the country. And I don't say that lightly. Bernard Zuel is bloody fantastic. Routinely actually posts some playlists that you should listen to as well. But what I loved about this is we do talk about that really, really kind of dark spiritual kind of art of trying to explain what music fucking feels like. And that's what we try to get to. And spoiler alert, I don't know that it's possible, and I aspire to that for the rest of my life. So Bernard Zuel is fantastic. But first up, the record I'm going to talk to you about in my vinyl monologue is, look, it's technically a best of, but we'll just forget that's a thing. The Smiths' Hatful of Hollow. Very, very important record for me. This Night Has Opened My Eyes. If you haven't heard that, do it straight after the podcast. Enjoy. Okay, dear to my heart, Smiths purists might not like this because I don't know that it's officially a record. The Smiths is my vinyl monologue for this week, Hatful of Hollow. You know what I love, though, is that you can't feel the vinyl because we've been playing it to my producer Paul's children who loved it, choreographed a special dance to it. It was very cool. So Hatful of Hollow is a compilation, really. It's not an official record. Like, there were some songs that, made it onto other albums. What's interesting is that this was the first record I ever heard. And it's funny because the versions of some very famous songs like How Soon Is Now and This Charming Man and What Difference Does It Make, they're different on this because they came from the Peel sessions. If you've ever heard of John Peel, who was an amazing UK DJ who would just, I don't know what sort of magic was happening, what dark sorcery was going on in that man's studio, but he really kind of, tore these amazing performances from great artists, but like they did some different things with him. So this record has, I think, the best versions of some of these songs. Like sometimes they're a bit janglier, sometimes they're darker, just really beautiful versions. And I think a really good tasting platter of the Smiths. There's other compilations and best ofs and all that sort of stuff. Smiths are funny, right? Because I think they do that fantastic thing I like with lyrics where it's like sounds really jangly and sunny and fun, but the content is really dark. And obviously everyone's always, going, oh, the Smiths, they're so depressing. But if you actually listen to a song, like it's fun. Like it's not, you don't realize that's maybe their MO. Like it's cool. This album has my favorite Smith song of all time, which a colleague at work and my producer's daughter both agree. This Night Has Opened My Eyes. It is just stunning. And it's about like a young couple who, they must have, terminated a pregnancy. And, I should say they must have given the baby up for adoption. But the point just is that they didn't keep the baby. And so the lyrics are so poignant. And I think they are actually liner notes in this one. So I can actually read from, oh God, I am blind. Where are we? This Night Has Opened My Eyes. Where are we? So he says in here, what is it? In a river the colour of lead, immerse the baby's head, wrap her up in the news of the world, dump her on a doorstep, girl. So yeah, they gave her away. But when he's talking about how it's from the perspective or commenting on the father's perspective here, he says, you kicked and cried like a bullied child, a grown man of 25. And when Morrissey talks about how they gave the baby up, the upside is when he says, the dream has gone, but the baby is real. Oh, you did a good thing. Like, that's okay. You're young. You didn't know what you were doing. Like, that's cool. But the line that kills me every time is she could have been a poet or she could have been a fool. Oh, you did a bad thing. And I think as a parent, that's the thing, right? Like you can do your best. They might grow up shit. They might grow up like they might be a criminal. But the cool thing is that like you don't know, and he never had the chance to know that. So yeah. Anyway, it's heartbreaking. So the Smiths' Hatful of Hollow, I think, is their best effort. And Morrissey is very problematic. I saw him live at the Opera House too. And it was just police brutality and animal like rights. And we get it, Moz. We get it. Like that's shit. I'm not there to see that. I just want you to play some great music. So anyway, and he's notoriously like cancels gigs and, you know, people have a lot to say about Morrissey, but amazing band, him and Johnny Marr. I still think if their superannuation's running low, they will reform. I have friends who think I'm ridiculous. I think they could do it. So yeah, Smith's Hatful of Hollow. Give it a go. My guest today is a revered and rather excellent music journo who I've had the pleasure of working with. He's a founding judge for the Australian Music Prize, an accomplished bloke in print, radio, TV. Bernard Zuel, welcome to the Vinyl Monologues.
Hello.
It's exciting to have you here. We met when we both, gosh, what was that James Valentine program that we were both on? Was it In the Mix or The Mix or something like that?
Yeah, The Mix, I think it was, yeah. Filmed in a Glebe cafe.
Yeah, where you got to have beers at 10 a.m.
Yeah, so except I had to keep giving someone else my beer because I don't drink beer.
Oh, well, I clearly do. So, yeah, it's all good. But look, we've got so much to talk about because, as I've said to you earlier, like we have a similar roles in that I've done the music journo thing, but with far less success than you, my dear Bernard. So I love the idea of really unpacking what it is to be a music critic with you. Let's go back to those early days when I think we all kind of, like I wish I'd just been able to wake up and be Pat Benatar in the 80s or something. But did you ever want to be a rock star or a pop star when you were young?
Oh, no, not really. That always seemed just a bit too intimidating, a bit too scary. And on top of which I didn't believe I had any talent to do it. Friends of mine were in a band, several friends in bands. And one of them, one night we got extravagantly drunk and they convinced me that I really should sing the birthday party's hair shirt.
Oh, my God.
With them one night because it doesn't require you to be that much of a singer. And I
could probably sing that, actually. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, I think at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I said yes. At 7 o'clock the next morning, I thought, no, never. So, no, I did not ever seriously think about it, apart from, your usual thing as a 12-year-old thinking what it'd be like to be up in front of people. But I actually would have preferred to have batted at number 3 for Australian cricket team than be a pop star.
Awesome. Well, that's just as illustrious. I love that.
And just as unlikely.
Reading about your journey too, I think similar to mine in that, you wrote about, I think, an REM record and submitted it and it got published and you were like, shit, someone published my work. And I remember like a local rag in Canberra did that in the 90s and I was like, oh my God, like maybe I can be in Rolling Stone too. And you actually have written for Rolling Stone. But how did that come about? What made you want to write about your favourite music?
Well, my best and oldest, longest friend, still my friend now, from time we were about 10, we spent 11. We spent the bulk of our time talking about music and girls.
The best combo ever. Yeah.
Yeah, well, except I had no girls, so I had a lot of free time to talk about music. And we spent so much time listening to music, talking about it, strategizing, dreaming about it. He introduced me to lots of stuff, and I very occasionally would introduce him to something. I was quite proud eventually when I introduced him to Prince and then the Smiths.
Oh.
But we thought this is all that mattered to us, as I said, except for girls. But
music's more reliable than chicks, I reckon, and dudes. Like, yeah, let's be real.
Yeah, maybe you just hadn't found the right chick or guy. But we would read Ram in particular, Ram and Duke when we get it up from Melbourne, and we would bitch about the people who we disagreed with and thought, no, they got it completely wrong. How could they do this? And then one day we thought, well, maybe we should do it. Maybe instead of complaining about it or dreaming about doing it, let's actually do it. And he was busy because he was actually a proper musician. So he was actually playing and writing. And we wrote songs together, but he was making music. So I actually had a bit more time. And I thought, I'm going to write something and just see how it goes. And the first thing I wrote was actually a review of Everything But the Girls' second album.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, okay, I've done it. I will take it in. And the day I finished it was the day Ram came out. And in there was a review by John Casimir, who was my bête noire, and would be for some years until he became a good friend of mine, who had written it first. And he had similar taste to me, and he would always be writing about things that I would like to write about. So I thought, bugger this, I'm not going to get a chance to write because he's in there, he knows them, and they will give him the record. The only way I can do this is I can get a record that's not actually out in Australia. And so for kids out there, back in the days when you could go to an import record store and get something that was
you couldn't get everything on tap. Yeah, absolutely.
No, you dreamt about it, read about it, and then waited months for it to turn up here, if it turned up at all. So I went to the import store and got REM's Fables of the Reconstruction, and got on the Friday, spent the whole weekend reading, listening to it, trying to write a review. And on the Monday, I took a review in to Ram, and Lyndon Barber, who is now a very well-known film writer as well as music writer, was acting editor. And my plan was, I was working in the tax office at the time. I was in between uni and journalism.
Yeah, that's not very punk. Or is it? Maybe it's very subversive. I don't know.
It was actually full of people who were trying to do something else with their life and was doing what I was doing, which is finding a job. Anyway, so I went in there, took it in, and my plan was to drop it off and run away before anyone saw me. But he was at the door and stood in front of me reading it. I was standing there thinking, what am I doing here? And went, yeah, all right, well, we'll run that next week. And I just ran away back to back to the office thinking, I think something's just happened.
So cool, honestly.
Anyway, so that's how it came up. I just wanted to stop complaining about people and actually put my words down.
Look, this is the real crux of what I wanted to talk to you about today. So maybe I'm getting to it a little early, but I think it was a good segue. So I have encountered people who think that and I ask you if you're a muso for this very reason, who think that if you don't, perform, then you can't critique it, right? And I have very strong opinions about that, as I do about music. And I love that you're being meta about, well, you've got opinions about the people who've got opinions, so you're just, putting your hat in the mix. But I just think, when you look at like art curators or dealers or, they've never picked up a paintbrush sometimes, or people who write about food or sport or, I don't think that to really understand something and to critique it, and if anything, perhaps we are more objective because we're not in the scene and we're not, I don't know, like what do you think about that concept that we can't critique music because we don't make it?
Well, I'd have to disagree because otherwise it would made a mockery of what I've spent the past 30, 40 years doing. But I do think that there's an argument for that, and I think there's some validity to it. And there's certainly an argument for musicians being able to talk and write about music in a way that non-musicians can't. And I think they can make really good contributions, and some really good musicians or really good writers are musicians. And some writers can play and are fine. And that's, there's a point to that. But one of the things I tell my students, the music journalism students, is that there's something you can bring to anything you're writing about, no matter what other skill you have. And musicians sometimes are the worst people to explain what's happening because they're approaching it from a particular angle. They're approaching it from a technical angle, from a musical angle, from this doesn't go with this. So you could easily dismiss them, which I don't. I think there's a point to that. But people like you and me, we can bring something else. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Sometimes we miss the mark because we have missed a musical nuance that a musician would have. But that's okay. We have other skills.
Yeah, and I think too what our strength is, and look at us just talking ourselves up, I bloody love it. I think too it's about, like I'll talk to my son or any other sort of muso where, again, they hear the technicality or think, that the time signature's this or that or whatever. And I think sometimes it's so meta, they're so close to it. And I think the average punter doesn't necessarily want to hear that. For me, what I like reading about is how does it make someone feel, because music is so visceral. I know Kim Deal, obviously ex-Pixies and, Breeders and her own solo stuff, talks about how when music hits you the right way, it's like an eargasm, and I love that because it's just so incredible, like a certain smell or whatever just takes you straight back somewhere. And a certain bit in a song that I get obsessed with the bits in songs, I like to try. It's an indefinable quest I have when I write about music that I don't think I can ever truly describe, even though I like to think I'm a decent command of the English language. Sometimes I think, do I need to learn like another really exotic language to truly explain what music makes me feel? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's right. I think it just comes down to what you can bring. And if what you can bring, you can translate for other people. I've read many pieces by music knowledgeable writers who have explained the way things work to me in a way that I can understand, or at least understand enough to get some value from. So I don't dismiss that by any means. But everybody has something that they can bring. Everyone who's trying to write about music has something. Sometimes it's not really in depth. Sometimes it's not really practical. Sometimes it's not any good. But I think there's a place for it. You just got to understand your limitations. Yeah. And not run away from the limitations, but understand that there are some areas that maybe you could skirt around, or you could avoid, or you could bolster somewhere else to compensate for that. Yeah. And like you said, it's, for me, there are some people who bring really interesting intellectual depth to their writing. So someone like Owen Crawford, for example, I think is the best music writer in Australia in many ways, because she brings a whole lot of things to the table. Other people talk about how the music makes them feel, which is where you and I think, land. So I tend to describe what's happened, how it's happening, what I'm feeling as it's happening, and what I think they're trying to say and do with it, and hope that works.
I love that you teach this to students too. We have to definitely talk about that, because it seems like such a dark art in a way to be able to kind of, translate and teach people. But I think probably a really big cornerstone is, we're never cruel, right? Like, it's not about having a go. Like, if you and I were just having a beer, I'd probably, have a go at someone, whatever. But in terms of publishing something and putting it out into the, stratosphere and whatever, I guess that's kind of a basic tenet, right?
Yeah, I'd like to think that. And these days I don't really do that very often or much at all. But like any young writer, I got excited by the sound of my voice on paper.
We need more of this. I want to hear more, because this is what we want to get into. This is the sexy stuff. Yeah. What did you hate and what did you write about it?
Well, I mean, being cruel is one of those things that you do because you think you can, because it's funny, because it's effective, because you read other people who can do it. And we all go through that. And then hopefully we get to a point where we recognize that being gratuitously cruel can please you, but you're generally pleasing yourself and a small number of people who get off on the cruelty. You're not actually imparting that much information. Yeah. And then hopefully you get to a point where you realize that it's okay to be hard and cruel sometimes because it's necessary, but not hard and cruel because you're loving how you come across.
So tell me, you were giddy from your first REM published review, which I'm sure Michael Stipe has, on his fridge. Amazing.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But so tell me, where did that lead you to?
Well, I then came up with a few more ideas, and they said yes to some of them. And after a couple of times doing it, they then started offering me things. Usually the offcuts that John Casimir didn't already get. Bastard. But when I couldn't get into RAM, then I was writing for the street press, which was not great because, for a start, it paid even less.
Oh, to even be paid, really, because you used to just get paid in CDs, right? So that's
right, yeah. You might get paid a little bit for a live review, but you could get published, and you could get published fairly quickly. The flip side to that was, and again, this is something that I was conscious of eventually, that I wasn't learning enough from doing that because I wasn't being edited much.
Oh, right.
Most of what I wrote for Street Press went straight in because the editors didn't have much time to do anything. And some of them weren't necessarily writer editors; they were publisher editors. They were people who knew how to sell the magazine and maybe had someone who could stick it together. And so, when you're writing for that kind of publication, it's a chance to get it out. It's not necessarily a chance for you to learn a lot from people. What I learned from that was just from writing. And so I just tried to write as much as I could for anyone who would take me. And eventually, I got approached by Rolling Stone to do something, and then
that sentence is just so exciting, to get approached by Rolling Stone. Like, oh my God. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, it's not as cool as you think.
I've seen Almost Famous. I know what goes down. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
It's exactly like that, right? Yeah.
Rolling Stone then and now, not really that special a magazine in Australia, and certainly not much in America now either, really, music-wise.
But back then, come on, it was probably a bit more of a big deal, surely.
It was a bit, yeah, it was, and I was certainly happy to do it. And the funny thing was that you'd get a credit as a contributing editor, which just seems so cool. Contributing editor, not just freelance writer, but contributing editor. Just meant I was someone who got published there. But because I think. The first thing I did for Rolling Stone was actually was a cover story, Steve Kilbey cover story.
Oh, wow, from the church, wow.
Yeah, and which was hugely exciting for me because I was a massive Steve Kilbey church fan and Marty Wilson Piper fan. And so I was asked to do that, and I'm not going to say no. That I was scared because this was a big step up, I thought. But... it was great. And I did that a little bit, and someone who was editing, the editor of Metro at the Sydney Morning Herald, the Friday supplement was the music supplement. It was a little thing, but, it was in the Herald. He saw that and called me and said, will you write something for us? And so I then started writing for the Herald. But it was all ad hoc and begging for work sometimes because... while I may have been asked once, I wasn't necessarily going to be asked a second or third time. I was pitching again. And I was doing it part-time. I had a full-time job because by that point I was saving up to go overseas, and the writing was actually adding to my reasonable income, and I was doing quite well.
But did you get that editing that you wanted? Did you get that sort of like parenting in a way that you were craving? Yeah,
definitely at the Herald and at Rolling Stone. But, and RAM as well. RAM, there was editing. It was a proper magazine with proper principles, and I really appreciated that. And the same with Rolling Stone and the Herald. That there were people who knew what they were doing, who would take my copy and go, yeah, no.
But how did that feel? Because I feel like it's 2020 hindsight, right? Like if you're talking about perhaps a certain arrogance in initially when you're writing and thinking that, you love your voice and all that sort of stuff, which I think is pretty bloody cool that you're admitting that. I think we all do that when we're young. We all know when we get older, true wisdom is admitting that we know fucking nothing. But how did you respond to feedback and criticism of your work?
Well, mostly, at least initially, it was... okay, this is what this is what I need to do to be better. If
Okay.
if I want to be compared with any of the other people writing here, I need to be better. There were times when I thought, well, that doesn't make it better. That takes away what I was trying to say. But at least for a while, because I was actually genuinely lacking in confidence. While I say I love the sound of my voice, it's more a case of I love being able to say things and being able to see it in print and go, that's my expression.
That's me, yeah.
I was still feeling like, well, I'm a bit of an imposter here.
All the good ones do, Bernard.
Yeah, of course. Everyone likes to say we have, oh yeah, I've got imposter syndrome, but most of us actually do. But I actually stopped writing about music for about 3 years.
Oh.
Because of that. I got a job I went overseas, did some work overseas for the Herald, which is mainly sort of standing in a phone booth at 1 o'clock in the morning in London, freezing in winter, phoning copy back.
Wow.
But when I came back to Australia, I thought, I don't think I know enough. I don't think I understand enough. Maybe I've reached my limit. So I stopped writing for a few years while I actually just became a better journalist and thought, well, maybe that's just not what I do anymore. But when I came to the Herald, I thought, I'm just going to establish myself as a regular journalist and then maybe do some music. And when I literally almost stumbled back into writing about music, I felt I've learned enough over the past 4 years since I was writing regularly to maybe actually be useful. I'd listened to a lot more records. I'd bought a lot more records. I'd read a lot more, and I just thought I'm a little more knowledgeable than the smartass who could write. I clearly could write. I had the ability to put sentences together.
Yeah.
But now maybe I could bring some value to it.
It's funny. I didn't really have any notable writing gigs, but there was one. I remember. I don't even know how I chanced upon it. There was this UK website called Sound of Confusion because the person who ran it, I can't even remember his name. He was obsessed with that Spacemen record.
Oh yeah.
And he got he was so prolific. He would just review. I reckon he wrote at least 5 reviews a day that he would post. It was insane, singles or whatever. And he was looking for writers, and I was on there, and I just loved that there were a couple of UK bands, really small, little post-punk outfits that actually used me on their press, Tatjana Clancy's Sound of Confusion. And I remember that was the hottest thing to me to think that a band loved what I wrote enough to put that in their, press kit or whatever. So I thought that was pretty cool. But I edited Street Press in Canberra for a bit, BMA, if you've ever heard of that, which is still going.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's still in print. It's great. To see your words in print is just, it's a very different high than radio. And I know you and I do radio fairly often, but that kind of goes out off into the ether, right? Whereas to have this hard copy of what you've said is pretty cool. Yeah.
Why did you want to do it?
Look, I don't know. Maybe I just thought everyone had to hear my opinions because even now at parties or with friends or partners or, whatever, I feel like everyone needs to hear I guess it's just I know very few people in my life that love music as much as I do. And I know that sounds like a really, really arrogant thing to say, but it's just if I discover a new band and then I go into a deep dive and whatever that, I don't know, I just adore it and I want everyone to know about it. And similarly, if I hate something, people really need to fucking know about it, I really want people to hear that. And it's not that I think my opinion is superior. It's just that, when you meet people at a party, right, Bernard, and they'll go, oh, I listen to everything, right? You know what I hear in my head? I like nothing. It's just just fucking commit to something. You know what I mean? There's no way you love everything. Duncan, who's another guest on the podcast here, who's a big metalhead, he loves these really obscure genres of metal. There's no way that, old mate who's listening to bloody Garth Brooks loves grindcore. It's just not a thing, just have an opinion. And I love respectfully debating music. I don't know. That's what I get off on, I think.
Yeah. I don't go quite that far in that. One of the things I think as a broad music journalist, when I was writing for the Herald for 25 years.
Wow.
I felt I had to be across, and not just across, but able to understand and talk with some interest about more than the music I liked. I actually genuinely like a pretty wide range of music.
But not everything.
Yeah, that's right. Not everything, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
one of the things is knowing when you shouldn't go there, knowing when it's just something that's beyond you, and various strands of metal were that for me. I could get into some, and others I couldn't. But I felt if you're going to write about music, you need to be exactly what you were describing, someone who is so passionate about it that they just want to talk about it to people all the time, and not convince them so much as share the passion. And so to share the passion is the basis of it. That's what it is for me. It was just, I love this. This excited me. I want you to hear it. I want you to know about this because this is what it made me think and feel, or this is what's out there, and I think you should know about it. But after that, it became a case of trying to understand it, trying to work out why people like this, how it worked, and then maybe mounting some arguments as to why, if you like this, maybe you could look over here and find someone a little more interesting, someone a little more adventurous, someone who brings a bit more depth, without saying the music you like is trash, though I might say that as well, but the music you like is this. Here's some more that I think you might get excited by if you just gave it a chance.
Yeah, and it's funny, I did used to do an ABC segment on whatever station it was, and they called it Tuesday Tune-Up, and it was exactly that, where like I would just bring a kind of middle-of-the-road artist and say, if you like this, you're going to love that, and that was always fun. And I think coming back to, like, I would never want to be cruel, and I'd never, hate on a band, and I totally respect what you're saying, that it is about expanding your horizons and being objective and all that sort of stuff. But it does sound like what we were talking about earlier, that you would be quite, solid in your opinion sometimes, and maybe they'd be a bit polarizing, or you'd be really real about not liking something. I mean, tell me more about that process. Yeah.
Well, I was quite happy to say to people I thought Eskimo Joe were the most boring band in Australia. And people loved Eskimo Joe. I can see why
you've ruined Christmas, Bernard. Oh my God! Yeah, they're such nice lads. Yeah, that's right.
I'm sure they are lovely people. And like Keith Urban is actually a really nice guy, and I have no issues with him personally. Though I do question how he's transformed his life to be this most generic and most inconsequential of music figures, while being a massive seller. I mean, I know why he did it, but I don't know.
I don't think Nicole hurts, but yeah, obviously he was big before they got together. But yes, I hear you.
But he was someone who was an interesting character and wrote from an interesting perspective until he realized that wasn't going to sell him anything, and became the ultimate generic country figure who will sing about Friday night football and driving around in his ute.
Oh God, I've never paid attention.
No, well, his lyrics are just so generic that they could be written, and I'm sure have been written by some factory system. So I'm quite happy to say that. But and I think one of my reviews that people bring up with me on occasion still is a review of Wolfmother's second album, I think. Was it?
Oh, Australia's greatest Led Zeppelin tribute show, as a friend of mine says. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I gave that a massive kicking, which a lot of people latched onto, I think partly because they were just wanting somebody to kick them. But it stuck out just because it was really, really harsh. But I wasn't being necessarily cruel. I just thought it was a rubbish record, and with rubbish ideas and rubbish aspirations. Anyway, sometimes you just got to do it, and which then comes back to that thing you mentioned before about the arrogance of it. And I don't know, is it arrogance? You got to have some level of confidence that what you're saying is reasonably well thought out and has some basis, but also that you're the person to say it, and so that's arrogance or at least confidence in your ability and confidence in your position. As the music critic at the Herald, I was going to be reviewing these big acts as well as the small acts that I was pushing through. And so I had to feel that people were going to at least go, well, he's an idiot, but he's explained his idiocy.
Yeah, if you explain your position, and I think you can't like everything, and surely then you won't be taken seriously, and or conversely would be taken more seriously if you say, I really love something. It's like, shit, like he really hated on this, so if he's saying he loves this, there must be some merit to this. Maybe that's like a draw card for some people, you know?
Or alternatively, if he really hates this, I'm going to like it. I know. I got
that too.
I got letters from people saying that. You know, I'm sure everybody does. That guy is such an idiot. I have never heard of this band, and he's trashed them, but I'm going to go out and listen to them.
So tell me about the place of music journalism, and obviously the fact that you're lecturing in music journalism suggests that there's still, a desire for even just to be one. But, as you were saying, like when we were growing up, like it was rare to sort of have, we just didn't have the glut of music that we have now. And similar to, we have streaming, so there's no appointment setting TV anymore. Radio's apparently a dying art, which breaks my heart because I still love it so much. But, the idea that maybe that curation factor, like when in the 90s, Richard Kingsmill was my touchstone, know, and I feel like, like everyone sort of thinks that they can do their own thing, but maybe, I don't know, do they like the idea of being told what to do a little bit because there is just this lawless wasteland of content? Do you know what I mean?
Some people never liked a critical review, as in a critic's opinion. They didn't see the point of it. They couldn't be bothered reading about it. And there are many people who quite enjoy the fact that, and would say the only opinion I'm interested in is either my friends or the musician's opinion. I don't care about you. And being able to find music and learn about music without having to wait for a narrow band of people to explain it to you, a journalist in the paper or in the magazine or the music programmer or the DJ back in the days when the announcers could actually pick their music. Without having to wait for that, that's a boon for a lot of people. But the truth of it is that most of us don't have the time, the bandwidth in literal and figurative ways to find music. And you still need somebody, a lot of us, to at least point you in a general direction.
I mean, I still read Pitchfork reviews, even though everyone reckons they've lost their way, but whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, they really wanted to make sweet love to Fiona Apple's Fetch the Bolt Cutters. Like, I don't think it was that good. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still love discovering new stuff that way too, Yeah,
but again, that's us. That's the kind of people who spend hours of their day thinking about music and what this record means and what was Joni Mitchell thinking when she was making Hejira, or when she was driving across America in 1974. And discovering yourself. Most people don't think that way. Most people don't care about any of that. They just want to know who it is and where is it and will I like it. And these days they can find out if they like it.
And tell me, how do you approach it? I'd love to know what your thought process is, or your I don't know, like your MO when you've got a new record, you've got to review it. Do you just sit there and absorb it? Do you listen to it in the car, which I think is an optimal listening, immersive thing? Or do you listen to it a few times? Or like, how do you approach a review?
Well, I'll tell you one thing about modern cars of the past 10 years. It's just, you can't get a CD player in them now. And
I've still got a CD. Yeah, I've still got a CD player in mine. I love it.
Yeah, well, I was very disappointed when I had to trade out of my last car, and this one does not have a CD player. Because I used to do that. That was one way I listened to
awesome
new albums. But I've got a general approach, which I usually work through, and that is the first 2 or 3 times I listen to an album, I'll have it on while I'm doing other things. I'm not directly listening to it. I'm slowly absorbing it. I'm picking up bits and pieces. and then the fourth or fifth
That's a very
listen is
measured
when
thing. Like, you're not just doing it casually. That's really cool.
Well, I mean, it is casually in one sense. In that,
I mean to say, like, that
it's
you're listening to it a few times and in different conditions. Like, that's amazing.
yeah. Again, it was easier when there were CDs, or because you could do it in different areas. These days, it's so much harder when music's only available in MP3s and streams, and you've got to be near somewhere that has it, or on your phone. That's helped. But the fourth or fifth time I'm listening, I'm focusing more, and that's when I'm starting to recognize the things that have stood out from the early things. All right, I remember this bit and that guitar or that lyric or something, which is giving me some indication of what were some of the immediate or at least connecting things for me. By the seventh or eighth time, that's when I'm starting to think about really focusing on things like lyrics. And if I've got a lyric sheet, that's when I start looking at the lyrics. And then I'm just taking it in as much as possible, maybe play the 3, 4, 5 times in a row. And then as I'm writing it, that's, again, I'm playing the album on a loop while I'm writing. And sometimes things will come to me then in the 10th, 12th, 13th, 14th time of listening or more. But the process can be shortened. Sometimes I can go 5 listens and I know pretty much what this record's about, and I don't need to hear any more. I can't bear to hear any more. But
sorry,
I try
Keith,
to give
but yeah.
Yeah, I try not to go near Keith Urban albums anymore because I've got nothing new to say. He's got nothing new to say, and I've got nothing new to say about it.
Oh, but he's got the good hairstyle, and that works for him with the housewife. But look, I mean, what is it that draws you, or is it, again, back to that idea of a dark art? Because lyrics are very big for me. Like, I love that. And I do love that, the best writers, like poets, they want you to just, absorb it, according to your worldview and your life experience. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, so literal. Like, it's just something that just sometimes connects with you at a certain time. Like, I don't know, I have some songs that, I've gone back to and I understand them differently as well.
Sure.
So that's another experience, just as a personal listener, not just as a critic. But I don't know, like, is there like a common theme for you of something that hooks you in, even when you're listening to different styles of music, or it's always different for you?
There isn't one or two things. I mean, lyrics are things that, and it's one thing that musicians will often criticize critics for, that they're lyric focused, because we're words people, and often if we're not musicians, that's what we latch onto. But so lyrics will often matter to me, but they don't always matter. Sometimes they will only matter if they're really bad, if they're ruining the experience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm quite okay with adequate lyrics that do a job, and sometimes just sound good without necessarily meaning anything. But sometimes the lyrics aren't even, I may not even mention them in a review. It may not be something that comes up when I'm talking about it either. Maybe because they're not actually meant to be absorbed particularly. Maybe because I couldn't understand them. If I don't, one thing I try not to do is quote lyrics without actually having evidence of what the lyric is, because your interpretation of lyrics sometimes can come down to your mishearing of lyrics.
Yeah. What do they call them? Mondegreens. Yeah, that's always very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. But, there are times when I will be hooked by a pop hook, by a melodic hook, by a bass line, which is why I sort of regularly rant about Noel Gallagher's line that no one ever bought a record because of its bass part, and say that is one of the stupidest things Noel Gallagher's ever said, and he's said quite a few.
Well, St. Vincent's made a whole career out of not having any bass in her band. I saw her live, and I didn't notice its absence at all. She just fucking rocked. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't matter, and there are some bands where it doesn't matter. But the people that I first fell in love with as a music fan tended to be people with melodic bass players. Paul McCartney, Bruce Thomas from The Attractions, Graham Maby from Joe Jackson's band. guy from XTC whose name's not coming to me now, and Andy Rourke from the Smiths, particularly.
Who I still reckon will reform. I'm sorry. If Oasis did it, as if Johnny Marr and Morrissey can't get it together, because they would make a bloody fortune. Like, come on. Anyway, that's just the theory I have. So.
They would, but I'm quite happy for them not to. I was crushed when they broke up the year before I got to England and could see them. But I'm okay. I've seen Morrissey. I've seen Marr.
Yeah, me too.
And Andy Rourke's not around, so the Smiths aren't going to be the Smiths anyway. So I'm quite okay with them not reforming.
Fair enough.
And also, it means I don't have to put up with Morrissey, which
look,
is more than enough.
That was a very disappointing show at the Opera House because, like, have some political ideals, go for it, but I don't need to see animal cruelty and police brutality videos behind you. Like, I do want to hear you like launch into the occasional Smith song, and anyway, it was very frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. Meat is murder.
We know. Yeah. I will still get a burger on the way home. Yeah.
But even that didn't offend me half as much as his behaviour on stage. Just this, and the manufactured elements of that show. That's one thing that really drives me up the wall. At this particular point in the show, he's going to rip your shirt open, and
yes.
And people will get super excited about this or that, and there's some parts of that I would like to feel a little more spontaneity. But anyway, there's lots of reasons not to like Morrissey, and that's just a couple of them. While he was a massive influence, he was massively influential for me. I mean,
I loved the Smiths.
When I was writing lyrics, I started off trying to write like Elvis Costello. I then tried to write like Morrissey. And in the end, I had to grow up and not do it. But also, I stopped writing because I'd lost the motivation. But Morrissey and Marr were massive influences for me, both musically and lyrically, and in terms of being a fan. The way that they were fans connected with me as a fan and sort of validated my fandom of other people.
And the jangly pop, right, with the maudlin lyrics. Like, I love that dichotomy, though. Like, or even just, I went to, like, a goth nightclub recently and I was talking about this with a friend. Like, I mean, I know How Soon Is Now is, like, the kind of, the typical kind of, Smith song or whatever. But it's just like, when he's just like, you go to a club, you could meet somebody who really loves you. So you go and you stand on your own, you leave on your own, you go home and you cry, and you want to die. Like, I mean, it actually just makes me happy. It's so like pop music depresses me. The Smiths don't depress me. I just adore it. Yeah.
Yeah. He could be so funny.
Oh yeah.
Just the play on words, and he could also, at the time, he no longer can, but he could send up the image as well of being the son and heir of a shyness that is criminally vulgar. Oh God, let's not get into quoting Smith's lyrics at each other.
Yeah, because we could be here all night. Yeah. Oh my God, so good. But look, there's like with all my guests during this series, like I could just keep talking to you over and over, and I feel like we need beers together to do that in person. But when you are teaching music journalism, I mean, what is it that you want to convey? Because obviously it's so special to the listener to be able to explain what they're hearing and what they're feeling. Like how is it something that you can teach?
What I tell them is that the first thing is I'm teaching to be a journalist. Mm-hmm. The music journalist comes last. Or at least, not first. The first part is just learn how to be a journalist, learn how to be a writer, learn how to construct ideas. And music journalism is just an extension of that. And the skills that I'm teaching you in this ostensibly music journalism course are the things that you can teach, that you can apply if you're writing about business or sport or general interviewing. Mm-hmm. And so when I teach them about interviewing, I'm teaching them how to interview, not how to interview a musician. It's just musicians are the central factor eventually. So after that, what I say to them is try to explain what it's doing to you, because everything else is something that could be done by anybody else.
Or AI these days, which is utterly fucking depressing. So, yeah.
Yeah, or someone can tell you the story. Someone can tell you the story of the band. Someone can tell you these are the lyrics. So when I talk about doing a live review, you can go through every track, every song, and in order. But anybody else could do that. Someone can get the set list and do it, and someone else could say they were faster, they were slower, they jumped about, or they didn't. The lights were on, the lights were off, whatever. Anybody can do that. What you've got to bring is yourself, is some understanding which reflects your approach, but also some understanding that goes beyond what anybody else could see in the room. You've got to look for the interactions, look for the separation of people on stage, or the connection of the people on stage and the connection of the people in the room. Look for the things beyond what everybody else can see. You can't actually teach that. All you can do is say, here are all these tools that you'll need, and then you've got to start thinking. The thing I can teach them, I guess, is let's see how these things work. So one of the classes I do is, and I'm talking 20, 21, 22, maybe 23-year-olds in the main, and I will play them a Bacharach David song that they almost certainly don't know, that it's a style of music that they wouldn't listen to, though if you've got decent parents, you will have heard a few of them. And so let's break it down. Let's look at the way this is used here and this is used here. And in that sense, you can teach people to at least understand, break down how things are working. The thing you can't teach them is the connection, the emotional reaction, and the ability to express that emotion to somebody else. You can teach them how to write, you can teach them how to structure, you can teach them all those, how to examine, but the extra element is the thing that separates a good music writer from an okay music writer and separates them from a regular person listening to the music or standing in the room.
And to be a fan, right?
To connect.
Yeah, because you need to the idea that you can just do it without, really consuming music. You need to really enjoy it, right? Like, I'm sure, again, back to the AI idea, if you treat like a human being as AI, everybody could just go and do the thing and write it and cobble together something. But yeah, you really need to just enjoy it. But then similarly, in terms of interviewing musicians, do you think it's better to, obviously, I guess, to put the fandom to one side because you want to have, an objective kind of interview as well?
Well, you can't. You can't. You can claim you're going to do that, but you can't. I think you just got to know how to use it. You just got to and know how to use it when it's not there, because not everyone you're going to interview you're going to be a fan of, but that doesn't mean you can't have an interesting interview.
Find something about them, yeah.
Some of the more interesting interviews I've had are people who are not necessarily making songs that I love, but they've got an interesting idea, an interesting story, or an interesting perspective, or I can get them to say things that are worth hearing. But you need to be a fan of the idea of music and of art and of what it does to people. That's what you've got to be a fan of. Not a fan of the individual, not a fan of the particular style, but a fan of the idea of art as something that moves, that is valuable because it moves you, and that you can convey to someone else.
So what are you listening to at the moment? Because as I've said plenty of times in this podcast, sharing music is my love language, Bernard. So what are you loving that I need to listen to at the moment, do you think?
Well, one of the things I'm listening to at the moment is the Joni Mitchell box sets, the second and third volume. The fourth volume has just come out. These collection of recordings and material around particular periods. So the book box 2 is, I think, from 70 to 74, something like that. Some B-sides, unrecorded songs, alternate versions. So that's nerd heaven, Joni Mitchell nerd heaven for me. But just nerd heaven anyway. There's a new Dwight Yoakam song that I'm quite happy to hear, quite excited to hear, because I really like Dwight Yoakam.
You know what, though? This is a great way to segue to your website, because you regularly write really great reviews that I read that are very cool. And I feel like, yeah, people can really absorb your music taste, whether you're loving or not loving someone. You have you post regular playlists as well, which is cool.
Yeah, the playlist is handy for me just because I used to do it anyway. I used to do it for friends. I used to burn CDs. I used to make tapes for them. Then I burnt CDs, and I'd do 8-hour playlists on a CD when the MP3 files were there. And now I'm doing it, 90 to 120 minutes thereabouts, just saying this is what I'm hearing. And one of the things I love about that is that I don't just write about new music, and I don't just listen to new music, and I don't just put new music on the playlist, because it's all connected. There's there's depth and history to all these things, and I keep discovering new things. I keep discovering, for example, I was reading something a week ago, this album called Sunshower by, am I going to remember her name? This is really embarrassing, but I just came across this record in just been thrown away in a discussion by Thelma Houston, who I knew of as mid-70s disco pop hit, and I knew she'd been around for a bit, didn't know much about it, but I was reading this thing telling me about Thelma Houston recorded an album in 1970, I think, mostly written and produced by Jimmy Webb. And I thought, Jimmy Webb, love. Soul, late 60s, early 70s soul, folk, groove, pop, love that stuff. Played a couple of songs and thought, this is so up my alley. It's dramatic pop songs. It's got soul in it. It's got Jimmy Webb isms all over it. And I spent the next hour trying to find it. I wanted to get the vinyl version, which had these extra tracks. That. Couldn't find it. Finally found a Japanese seller who had it, and I'm waiting for that to turn up, because I can play it. I've got the record on, on Spotify, and I can play it. But I want to have that.
Look, and the thing is, I know that there's a deeper discussion about Spotify exploiting artists, and I don't at all mean to discount that. But I will say some of the artists I've discovered, in fact, several artists I've discovered on Spotify, I then go and find the vinyl because I want the tactile experience of owning their music.
Sure.
I do go and see them live. Yeah. I buy, the band shirts. So I do think that it is a window of discovery, and I definitely still make sure that the artists get paid, somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is an evil empire that is exploiting people appallingly. But so is radio, and so are record companies.
Well, look at Ticketmaster at the moment. Oh, my God. That's another discussion.
Again, I mean, Live Nation, a classic evil empire, because they're destroying music in 5 or 6 ways at once.
Yeah, it's depressing. That dynamic pricing thing is a whole other chat. But Bernard, I encourage people to head to your website. You've got some great content on there, and you're just a gem, and we can both hate on Morrissey together. I have interviewed Eskimo Joe, good guys, but also down on Keith. So whatever, he doesn't need our help. This is the thing. Keith doesn't need any of our help. He's doing quite all right for himself, isn't he? So
that's one of the things that I thought was it's really important to learn. People used to say to me at the Herald, "You could ruin someone's career."
Oh God!
Actually, I can't.
No.
I can't ruin the careers of people I would like to ruin. I can set back small artists, but the big artists, the people who really deserve to be pulled down. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what I think about them. Nobody cares what anybody thinks about them. If they love them, they're going to buy it. And people love those people. And a real fact of music journalism that's really important to learn is you are so inconsequential in so many ways. You can have an impact. You can bring interesting things to people, but you have almost no chance of destroying the worst things in pop music, because those things are indestructible.
Damn it.
And you are inconsequential.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, the Swifties will reign supreme and whatever. But Bernard...
No. I love Taylor Swift.
Oh, no. See, I knew this would happen. Yeah. I seem to have brought her up in every episode, but yeah, no, that's okay. You can love her. That's all right. But again, she doesn't need my help, so it's okay.
I love Kylie, except for Badum Padum.
Well, no, Kylie stole my boyfriend in the 90s when Nick Cave decided to make a song with her. So it's a personal vendetta I have. So, we'll get there one day, but whatever. But Bernard, an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for speaking with me today.
It's been fun.
The Vinyl Monologues is hosted by the ever-opinionated, only in the best way, Tatjana Clancy, and produced by the button-pushing, camera-pointing, lights-moving sound guy, Paul Bissett. That's me. Thanks to the equally opinionated Bernard Zuel, who understands the brief that a love of music means having strong opinions and unwavering commitment to them. He's a beautifully descriptive writer who excels at the dark art of explaining how a good song can make you feel. A million thanks go to Sia Ahmad for our fantastic theme music. It takes a special person to totally nail the vague brief of, please make a tune that sort of sounds like a hidden Joy Division New Order B-side, so please do check out the rest of Sia's stuff. The Vinyl Monologues is a Magenius production, recorded and produced on the unceded lands of the Ngunnawal people. Visit magenius.com to see what else those crazy guys are up to. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode, and leave us a review because we want to know what you think. Email us at thevmpod@gmail.com or just go to vinylmonologues.com. Thanks for listening. We'll be back before you know it.